people who worked at resorts. Tell us about the craziest thing you've seen. Subscribe to the channel, like it, and leave a comment. This will greatly help the development of the channel. Thank you. I was very young at the time. I worked at a camping site in southern Sweden, where the solstice festivals were held. I've seen all sorts of crazy stuff. Better ask what I haven't seen. People leaving the campsite would flip their cars over, and they would even be burning. The place looked like a war zone. I worked at a ski resort for several years. One guy crapped his pants while skiing or on the lift, came into the restaurant to clean up, and left his dirty pants right on the hanger in the bathroom. A coworker told me how someone wrote "poop" on the wall in the bathroom with actual poop. This was a mountain resort designed for wealthy hunters. Guys from 2 neighboring rooms decided it was too much of a hassle to walk to each other's rooms, so they made a huge hole in the wall, separating them. Not even remorseful about it, they stayed for another 3 days. To put it into perspective, this place was owned by a regular family, not a big chain. In the early 2000s, I worked as a bartender in South Padre Island. I saw a drunk guy trying to jump from a second-floor balcony into the pool. He missed the water and hit his head on the sidewalk, died on the spot. My mom used to be an emergency nurse. She said the least likely to get hurt in a fall are kids and drunk people. Apparently, it's because they don't tense their muscles as much. When I was 18, I worked at a ski resort in Lake Tahoe. There was a very nice girl who was celebrating her 21st birthday. She was friendly with all the staff. At some point, she got very drunk, and for some reason, she and her friends decided, still drunk, to go skiing. She crashed into a tree and died on the spot. I worked at a resort complex with a golf course. A few guys sneaked booze into the field in their bags. They got so drunk that one of them couldn't hit the ball into the simplest hole. As punishment, he had to run naked through the pool area, where a bunch of families were hanging out. He ran through the terrace garden and, tripping over a brick near the pool, did a flip and landed right on the corner of a brick. It cut his scrotum, and one of his testicles fell into the pool where kids were swimming on inflatable rings. The guy screamed and tried to fish out his testicle. All the kids and moms started screaming too. In the end, we had to call a helicopter, which landed right on the golf course. What a chaos. One summer, I worked in Yellowstone National Park. I suppose people go there for vacation too. It was a seasonal job. That year, we had a few deaths. Some drowned, some fell off mountains, some were lost tourists, etc. But the worst case was when a guy nearly died while relaxing at the hot springs. If you don't know, Yellowstone has over 10,000 geothermal springs with acidity ranging from neutral to battery acid. Some springs are safe to relax in, like a sauna. It's a popular activity if you know which spring to go to. A group of young guys was soaking in the hot springs, probably drinking. One of them got lost, went the wrong way, accidentally broke through a thin crust, and fell into a spring with incredibly high acidity. When that happens, the boiling water combined with the acid instantly dissolves the skin. His skin literally peeled off from the waist down. I mean, all of it. His friends called my colleague to get rescuers. The guy spent a very long time in intensive care, and we were all very shocked and happy that he survived. A few weeks before the incident, a guy broke up with his girlfriend. The day before Valentine's Day, he checked into our hotel and sent her a message saying he was in room XXX, and if she didn't come, he would know it was over. The next morning, he decided to act. He took a tool to unlock the safety latch on the window and used it before jumping. The guy fell from the 7th floor, breaking through a glass-roofed veranda, hitting his head on sturdy steel railings. He landed on the concrete sidewalk, less than 2 meters from our restaurant. At the moment of the fall, blood and other bodily fluids splattered everywhere. Miraculously, he didn't hit any pedestrians. The restaurant was full of customers having a romantic Valentine's Day breakfast. Some were right by the window. Many people needed psychotherapy consultations after that. A few years ago, I worked as a busboy in a restaurant at a resort. One rich guy got drunk at the bar, and a few locals invited him to a party in the nearby village. He agreed and went with them, against staff recommendations. The next morning, he returned with nothing. They even took his clothes. I worked as a maid at a place where the shift managers would steal tips left for us by the clients in the rooms. What can be done to prevent this? Attach the envelope to the inside of the toilet lid so only the cleaner would see it? Leave tips under the pillow or in the pillowcase. A guy got drunk and tried to climb onto the neighboring balcony, but strangely fell. We, the staff, were told not to tell other guests about it. The same thing happened to my cousin. She fell from the 6th floor, but she survived. The injuries weren't critical, but who knows? Maybe when she's 50, her ankle will hurt with the weather. Attempts at self-harm. Usually, victims are discovered by cleaners or family members. This happens surprisingly often, and usually with people who have children and families. For example, we had an HIV-positive guy whose only goal was to die away from his family. A grim story. The guy was at the end of his life, constantly vomiting, and it was a sad story for him and everyone touched by his death. I worked in the receiving dock at the time. An ambulance pulled up. In resort areas, they don't like negative publicity, especially regarding guests' health. So ambulances arrive at the back of the complex. 2 paramedics went inside with a stretcher and were gone for about 20 minutes before returning with a body, covered with a white sheet. The funniest and most unpleasant detail was that the corpse had a visible erection. The bulge was poking through the center of the sheet. The guys chuckled and said the victim died from a cocaine and Viagra overdose. It wasn't a resort, but a premium hotel. I was constantly called to bring condoms to a room every 10 to 20 minutes. After 10 calls, I brought a whole box. The door opened, and I saw a group of people having an orgy. An old man went out with dignity. He was 65, and his wife wore him out in bed. With his heart, he couldn't take Viagra. I heard the whole story in the lobby, when the team upstairs radioed it to the duty chief. When they carried him out on the stretcher, everyone lined up and saluted. He was a 26-year veteran who had recently retired, but only us guys knew the real reason for his death. His wife wrote to the sanatorium thanking us for saluting her husband as he left. The management patted us on the back. Can't imagine how many people take the blanket out of the duvet cover and poop in it. Never work in the cleaning industry. This job kills you a little every day. I work with all the resort complexes and hotels in Vegas, and I'm still amazed at the amount of food waste in the conference halls. Daily, enough food is thrown away to feed 15,000 plus people, probably closer to 30 to 50,000 depending on the season. I was enjoying lunch at an outdoor table at a resort in Puerto Morales when a Koei suddenly jumped onto the table next to us, where 4 people were sitting and just started eating their food. The people were tipsy, so they just laughed. A resort worker found a snake, non-venomous, right near our territory. You could say in a natural environment. There weren't any buildings there. He grabbed the snake by the tail and smashed it against the wall to death in front of the guests. A little shithead thinking he was a hero. One summer, I worked as a cleaner at a resort complex. There was a person who left his poop in a new place every morning. On the golf course, in the pool, in the service room, etc. A new place every morning for several weeks. They never caught him. During lunch, people only had one question: where will the poop be this morning? Most of the summer, I got lucky. But one day, I found smeared poop on the bathroom wall. Although I don't think it was the same person who pooped everywhere, more likely an imitator. I worked at the Sheraton Hotel, where there was a dentist's convention once. Dentists had reserved the conference room to demonstrate medical devices. One of the staff called me to come and see what was happening. There were tables arranged in a square, and on them were neatly placed human heads. I guess they were practicing some new technologies on them. La Jolla Beach and Tennis Club 2006. I was one of the staff working on the beach. I came across a kid who had fallen while skimboarding. His face was all bloody. Mother of the Year was nearby. I called the medics on the radio. While we waited for the doctors, I saw the shadow of a man approaching us. I looked closer and saw he was wearing cowboy boots and jeans, a very strange outfit for the beach. Then I saw he had a full glass of whiskey, a dragon shirt unbuttoned to his waist, and white hair blowing in the wind. And then I recognized him as Bill from the movie Kill Bill. Yes, it was David Carradine, his wife, and her children. He shrugged and walked away. I didn't see him again until late at night, when my colleagues and I had to carry him up the stairs to his room in the neighboring hotel because he was quite drunk. It was winter, and I was working at the Canyon Ski Resort in Park City. I was manning the lifts. In the middle of the day, I saw a woman with a child who jumped onto the bench and started going up. Nothing unusual, but after a few minutes, the lift stopped and didn't restart for about 15 to 20 minutes. During this time, a bunch of patrols sped by on snowmobiles. It turned out the woman had a seizure while going up, didn't manage to lower the bar, fell, and broke her neck. She died on the spot, and her child witnessed the whole thing. The patrols arrived as soon as they could, but were unable to do anything. I will never forget helping the crying child down from the lift with the patrols. I'm not epileptic, but after this incident, I always lower the bar. I will never forget it. Even now, during winter, I think about that incident, though it's been over 10 years. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and watch other videos. We create new content every day for you.